oh, this is much too wide. Put a pin in that. We're gonna see that as a theme in this episode. Hey guys, I'm Bella, the Maker Mama Boss Lady behind Fiber and Fox, and this is episode 73 of my podcast. It is good to be back. Strangely, this episode is, I think, only crochet and a little bit of sewing. Typically, I am a crochet designer and I share about my design process and crocheting that I'm doing, as well as knitting. I knit and I talk about that quite a bit here as well. But I have some sewing aspirations, and I'm not normally one who sews. I'm not a sewist, a sewer. But I'd like to be, maybe. So I have some sewing content to share at the end and a whole bunch of summer crochet projects. So I'm excited to be back and chatting that with you. It's been a little bit, partially just schedule-wise, haven't recorded. It's also garden season, and it's been a frustrating start to garden season. It's kind of been a frustrating spring for my endeavors. So we'll talk about that more. But thanks for being here. Everything you're going to need to know is going to be linked down below, where you can find me, and then as well anything that I mentioned as far as patterns, which there'll be a bit of today. So all the show notes in the down bar if you need any information. All that being said, I don't think I have any design content to share this time, so let's dive into the good stuff, I guess. I suppose design content-wise, I should tell you what I'm wearing. I am wearing my Fandeco vest. I'll pop in a picture for you. It is one of my designs. It's not a new one, but I try to, showcase some things while I'm here chatting with you. So this is a cute layering piece. It's great in a multitude of seasons, but I got like a knee-length-ish shirt dress. I don't even know what this is, but it's like a t-shirt dress on with this little vest over the top of it. It's kind of cute. So if you like a tassel-y, open-fronted, all-over lace crochet vest, perhaps this is one you want to check out. So I'll link that below. But other than that, I do not have any design news to share with you. Not only have I had a rough time with getting designs out. I'm going to sneeze. Hold on. Not only have I had a rough time getting designs, I have plenty in my brain, but getting them out into the world onto paper and doing all the editing and typing and all that has been a lot of that going on. I have now 2 that I just need to finish the editing on and then do like a tester call, but I just haven't had the brain space for that. And like I said, it's also garden season, and typically I'm a big veggie gardener, a little bit of flower gardening in there, more interested in the flowers for dye purposes, dye gardening, because I like natural dyeing as well. But the veggie gardening has not gone well this year. I'm not going to bore you with veggie garden content because that is not what this channel is, but it has just not been going well. The odds have been against me, it seems. And the nature in my yard has been nature and hard. And I try very much to everybody eats something and it's all part of the ecosystem and permaculture and all of that. But yeah, some of the things in my yard are at war right now, and it's just been frustrating. So the time that I'm normally devoting to getting the garden in, getting the garden going, has been devoted to re-getting the garden going and fighting the garden and all that. So that creative endeavor, I guess gardening, it's one of my hobbies, has been frustrating. And even just making, not frustrating, and I don't want to say I'm lacking in inspiration. My husband's like, do you have writer's block? And I'm like, no, I have so much stuff in my brain. I just don't have the brain space to execute it at this point. And I think that's just the stage of life, the phase that I'm in right now. I have so much inspiration and so many projects and so much yarn, obviously, that I'd like to be using. But then when I actually get time to sit down and make, I want very mindless, repetitive projects. And I'm even having fatigue or overwhelm in just picking new projects, like finding something on Ravelry and doing the swatching or picking the appropriate yarn and figuring out, do I have enough yardage, and figuring out what size I'm gonna make and getting it started. All of that just seems really tedious right now, and I'm not sure what that's about. My life is great. I'm not trying to complain, but with the season, I don't know, people are like, you lost your mojo or something. I don't know what's up, but I have literally no knit projects on the needles or really in mind. And normally I have a pretty even balance of knitting, crocheting going. I don't have any knit projects to share with you. And I do have some crochet, but the projects that I've been working on, it's been about a month since I recorded, and I have not accomplished a great amount. Normally I'm pretty prolific in the finished objects and cranking stuff out, but I feel like I remade and will be remaking some of the same pieces well into next month as well. So I have 2 finished objects, 1 crochet whip, and then some sewing content. So let's stop rambling about my roadblocks and tell you what we got. Okay. Now I'm not going to share the cardigan again. We talked about this in the last episode, 72. This is a scrappy stash busting cardigan that I made for my daughter. It's got some cat fur on it, but we have cats, you know. For my daughter, out of just some cotton scrap yarns that I had mixed with some Hobby Lobby acrylic, and we talked about that in great detail last 2 episodes. But what I did want to talk about, what I finished right after the last episode, is this little like crossbody-ish scrappy bag that I made with the remnants of the cardigan. So I'm going to pop it off the hanger here. And there's no pattern for this, and there's no design coming and anything else. It's just a cute little thing I wanted to share with you because I had some yarns left over and I've been trying to stash bust pretty fervently, I guess. So I took all the little bits left over from making the granny squares and held it double with what the acrylic I had left and made this little purse. The handle looks twisted right now, but I promise it's not. There we go. Okay. A little cute purse for my daughter to go with the cardigan because she likes, this is her little church purse. She likes to have a little lip gloss. She's got a little pen pocket, and I don't even know, there's stuff in here. I don't know what she has packed. We got some Bible verses from Sunday school. We got some wrappers. That's mostly what we got going on in here right now. But she likes to have a little, you know, Bible verse. We have a paint swatch with some hieroglyphics on it. We have some candy. And yeah, she likes to bring a little purse to church. She feels all fancy and she brings a lip gloss, you know. 5-year-olds. And I just took all the scraps and some random, they're not even like purse hardware. I don't know what they actually are. I used them for making stitch markers. I got them originally a couple years ago in the like jewelry section of Joann's. That's just a bunch of gold rings, 5 gold rings. They don't open. They're not like jump rings or anything. They're just closed golden circles. So I'm not really sure what the purpose of them was jewelry wise, but I used them as little fasteners instead of ordering like a D-ring or whatever they're called. And yeah, I just made, let's see if I can kind of show you what I did construction wise. Started, there's a keychain I'm trying to get out of the way she has on here. Started with this rectangle, went around the bottom, up here, whoop, and then kind of shaped it's washing out, kind of shaped a little front thing, made a buttonhole, attached a button on there, made some little side panels. This is not, there we go. Made some little side panels and then single crocheted them kind of all together, made the strap. Originally I made the strap longer and wanted to shorten it. So instead of ripping back, I folded up the excess. Why is it washing out so bad? Doesn't know what to do with all these marled colors. I was holding, I think, 3 or 4 colors at a time with this. I folded up the excess and made a little pen pocket, which is like her favorite feature. And then I used one of the buttons that was left over to match the cardigan to seal it up. And then I took the original swatch from the cardigan, or the original granny square, and made a little inside pocket there. So yeah, there's no pattern for this, just something cute. And she likes to use it for church and other things, just, you know, bring little snacks, bring little cute things. And it's just adorable. And I used up almost all of the yarn that I had left over in scraps. So yeah, just rolled it all together in different sequences. And I used up the white in entirety. I have somewhere a couple itty bitty little bits left, but I think it was an overall really good stash bust project. And probably not a necessity. She has plenty of bags and other things, but it's cute. And I love making for my kids. So that is my scrappy purse project. Nothing super exciting, just all half double crochet and single crochet, but cute. And it's really cute when she wears it with the cardigan, but we're into like summer weather now. So it's mostly just the purse at this point. But wanted to share that. I finished that right after the last episode, so it feels like it was a really long time ago that I made it. But then I have a saga. I have several sagas to share with you. And I don't think I learned my lesson from saga number 1. Let's talk about this. Let's talk. Okay. This is the two-faced tank by, I believe it's LKC Crochet, which I'm assuming is initials. I have never, let me start out by saying I don't typically make other crocheters' patterns. Sometimes I'll look at like a free stitch pattern, or like that granny square pattern was from a blog. But very rarely will I make a crocheted garment or shawl or something like that. Not that I don't want to support other designers, I just have so much of my own crochet creativity in my brain that typically I'm not looking for additional pattern inspiration, I guess. I very, very frequently knit other people's knit patterns because I'm not as confident in like shaping and garments and math and whatnot in the knit realm. But crochet, I'm usually pretty confident that I can make it work. But like I was saying, I've been having just kind of, I don't know what to call it. Let me know if you've like hit this point. And it's not that I'm like tired of crocheting and knitting. It's not that I don't want to be doing it. I just like need projects that I already know how to do without extra thinking. I don't even know. I can't describe it. Just the end of the day, mom doesn't have a lot of time. And when I do, like, I also want to spend time with my husband. I have other things I want to work on besides crocheting. So like the little pockets that I get, I just need something simple to either knit, crochet, yarn-wise. Need something simple. So I knew I had some yarn in stash. Again, I've just kind of been busting through some, particularly summer weight yarns. I have a lot of cottons and like cotton blends that I've been wanting to use up for some summer garments. So I knew I wanted to make some crochet summer tanks, tees, also some knit ones. Haven't gotten those cast on yet, but I didn't want to design one. I knew I wasn't going to be grading a pattern right now and didn't want to have to do the math for myself. So though I very rarely purchase a crochet pattern by another designer, I went for this one because after just browsing through Ravelry endlessly, there's so many patterns that I'm like, oh, those are so pretty, but I don't like this on me. I don't like the weight of the yarn. I don't like this. I don't like that. I really liked this. And it was originally, it's called the two-faced tank because originally it's color block. So you work half the tank top in one color and half in another color. So it's like down the back is a seam of where the color splits. I can put in a picture for you. But this is worked side to side. So you're working all around in one piece. So vertically, yeah. So instead of top down or bottom up, you're working like that. Super clear, I know. And I knew looking at the like Ravelry pattern page and whatnot, I really liked the stitch pattern that she had used, and I was like, oh, it's really pretty. I really like that. Come to find out, after I get the pattern, it's actually a stitch pattern that I've used in a design that's yet to be published because I haven't finished typing it up. But I have a Ruana pattern that I wrote up last year in the same stitch pattern, same side to side construction, and almost the same color yarn that I ultimately ended up choosing here. I think I may actually have pictures of that as well. I kind of look like a Jedi when I wear it. But I never wrote that up. So yes, I already knew the stitch pattern, so I was like, perfect, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be mindless. I just need to follow the numbers. It's gonna be fantastic. And I wanna say up front, this is no complaints on the pattern itself. This is 100% my own fault and my own personal struggle right now. So I got the pattern and I was like, okay, my yarn is slightly off gauge. I don't remember what the numbers are at this point, but I'm slightly off gauge. I can make it work. I think I did gauge swatch. That was good. I gauge swatched originally and I was gonna make the size large, even though I really wanted a medium to kind of compensate. for my gauge differences based on my swatch. And the yarn that I'm working with here is, where'd you go? I believe it's a linen cotton blend. Let me tell you the specifics on it. But I got it discounted clearance at a local yarn store. It's S. Charles Nina, which is a Taki Yarns brand. Stacy Charles. There's a lot of words on here. 77% linen and 23% cotton, and it is in the color shade 17. Made in Italy. This particular yarn store always puts the tag like over the label, so it's very hard to read off info. But that's that. I had a bunch in stash, and I've actually made another knit tank top. I don't actually remember the pattern, but I knit one last year that was orange as the main color with white stripes. And I still had some yarn left over. So I was like, I'll make this tank. It'll be great. It'll be easy. I knew I was going to make it solid colored. I didn't want to do the color blocked thing, but that was an easy change. You just don't switch colors halfway through. So I was going to make the size large. Make the size large, and you're working side to side, so you can't really try it on. But I swatched. I was confident. I reel up on Instagram. I got to like 3 rows from the end. Realized it was way too big. And I am typically about a size medium. But like I said, I was messing with the gauge, and I thought, based on the swatch, which I blocked and the whole deal, plant fibers can be really hard to get a good read on. And just the construction of this garment, again, no fault of the pattern, and I've made a garment in this construction, same thing. You can't try it on until you like have 2 armholes. So you're working side to side and it's going around you, like you'd wrap a towel around you kind of thing. So once I got to the final strap, so you make a front strap, you work around, you make the 2 back straps, you work around. I got to like this strap and was like here, and then realized, oh, this is much too wide. Put a pin in that. We're gonna see that as a theme in this episode. Much too wide, doesn't fit. It's like gaping in the back, and it wasn't like cute boxy big. It was like the armholes were like sticking out weird, particularly because it was like a linen cotton. It was very weird. It was weird. I had like kangaroo arm pouches, and it was sagging in the back, and it was not good. So about 3 rows from the final thing being done, size large, I frogged the whole thing. And started again. And this time I went down, I think an additional hook size. I think I was already down 1 hook size. So I was down like 2 hook sizes at that point. And I was like, all right, I like the length that I got. So I'm going to make the large still in lengthwise. So the stitches that you start chaining because you're working this way. Change the same amount of stitches. Second time I had every intention of making the width. Yes, I was sticking with the length of the large and the width of the medium. I have a kind of long torso, and I didn't really want this to be cropped. I wanted to easily wear it with shorts, just like normal shorts. So I was gonna stick with the large length, do medium width. Totally didn't do that, because again, trying to be mindless. So I made the large second time in a smaller hook size. So this final one came out almost the fit I wanted. I probably would have liked a little less ease. It's still a little looser, and I think with the cotton linen fiber, it's going to loosen up some more. So I wish I had made the medium for the width stitch counts, but I didn't. I'm not frogging again. And there was actually another entire half of time that I made it, and I think I got to like the second strap increase, and I stopped paying attention, and I had a strap coming out of the bottom at my waist and a strap coming out of the top. So this is where my brain is at now. So that got frogged again. So I've made this thing basically 3 times at this point. I am not making it again. And I do really like the finished piece. I just wish it was maybe a little tighter. I did do a fair amount of modifications. I did edge out all of the neckline and the armholes in, it looks like an I-cord, but it's like a single crochet and then like a slip stitch kind of edging situation. So that's not in the pattern. I did modify the button band. I think the original, the buttonholes are kind of just worked into the stitch motif. And particularly I was using really heavy buttons, which is another point of contention on my own self. But these are beautiful ceramic buttons by my friend Lori of Fiber and Mud. She does amazing indigo dyeing and also does awesome buttons. This one's my favorite one, but they're all very pretty. These little like square diamondy, they keep twisting. Can't decide which way they want to be. But they're very heavy. And I had 6 of them. And I knew that I wanted to use them because I really like them in contrast with the orange. I think that's really pretty. But they are heavier, particularly with that plant-based fiber that doesn't have like a lot of, I don't know, spring or elasticity to it. I think this was probably a bad choice on the buttons. And they want to like hang out. They want to like billow forward because they're heavier than they should be. I probably should have used a really lightweight wood or plastic or something. But I use these. But what I did to modify the button band, I have to unbutton. Hang on. Let me show you. I did this little slip stitchy kind of, or back loop. Not slip stitch, back loop. I went down a hook size and I did some rows back and forth with some back loop, single crochets to make a really nice taut button band on the front because I didn't want the button holes to gape. And then for the part where the buttons are actually attached to, I ended up folding, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see, yeah. I ended up folding over part of the original front because this is actually where you start. I folded that over so it's like held double. So I was hoping some more thickness would give it better structure for the buttons, but it may also be contributing to the weight of it wanting to pull forward is that I doubled it over. Again, this is not in the pattern. The pattern is just make some buttonholes, put buttons on, boom, you're good. I complicated it and I don't know if it was the right call. I'll put in footage of it and pictures and whatnot of it on. I don't think it's terrible, but I think it probably would have been better executed if I used lighter buttons and maybe only did like 4 or 5 buttons instead of 6. I feel like the 6 very heavy buttons definitely kind of weighs down the front. But I really do like the green and the orange. Like, it's really pretty. It's like a seafoam green and a rusty orange, and I think that's just lovely. But yeah, I made some weird choices here. Oh, and the other modification I did is, I don't even know if you've even seen the bottom at this point. I put a leafy little border, which is actually the edging that I'm using in the other design that I need to type up, the Make Your Own Meadow Shawl. It wants to curl. I did block it, but it's like a little leafy crochet edging that I made up and stuck on the bottom there as well because I had just finished the shawl design and was really liking it. So all in all, this is very flowy and light, and I love the stitch pattern. It's beautiful. It's got a very knit knockoff type texture. I like it, but I think I could have executed it better. But at this point, I don't want to make it again. I have the pattern now. I feel like this would benefit from a wool fiber with a little more spring to it, and some maybe negative ease or at least less positive ease. I haven't measured the finished object, nor have I compared it to the actual dimensions in the pattern. Point is it fits, could fit better. But no complaints to the Too Faced Tank pattern. Very much like it and might actually make myself more. I think maybe a gray or a black one, a nice neutral would be lovely. Maybe crop it more, I don't know. But now that I have the pattern, I definitely have options to play around with it. But no, I couldn't keep it simple and I had to go and try to make something myself. This, I mean, it's technically a design because I designed it, but it's not going to be a pattern. After making that and that work around construction, seamless, all of that, I was liking that. Even though that didn't turn out exactly how I wanted it, I was like, okay, I can work with that and better it. So this is kind of inspired. I'm not going to say it's a modification of that pattern because it is totally different stitch counts, totally different stitch. And the modifications that I made to that I may carry over into here, but like the button band and whatever is not original to that pattern. So this is kind of an inspired by the construction of that pattern, but not at all that pattern. It'd be like if I followed a pattern for a raglan sweater and then made another raglan sweater. Same construction, totally different every other way. But I thought, you know what I do love is dandelion stitch. If you've been around here at all, you know that I love me some dandelion stitch, which is my modified version of a crochet daisy or star stitch. And I have a whole bunch of patterns, whole bundle on Ravelry, whole bunch of things that I've designed in this stitch, and it's just my favorite and I love it. It's something I've wanted to work into a garment. I would love to work it into a garment design, but like the brain space is not there at this point. So like an actual pattern to sell. But for me, I wanted to play around, similar in construction, working that up, down, seamless type end to end with shaping that I've used in my shawls. I was like, okay, I can make a tank that's similar to that, where it's button front, work around and do a similar construction. And things are going well. It looks great. But guess who held it up to that tank top before recording and realized it's bigger than that one. Probably similar in size to the original that I frogged. And I'm 3/4 of the way done with it. You'd think after fully frogging that one like 1.5 times that maybe I would have paid attention to the fit. But again, you can't try it on until you have at least 3 straps. 4th strap is really important. And then at that point, like you only have like this much left. But I could have totally laid it out flat against that one and noted, Bella, this is really wide again. You didn't like it when it was wide before. But here we are. So let's talk about this situation. So it's kind of hard to show you as a flat object, but maybe this will give you an idea of the construction that I was trying to describe. So you start here. It's really hard to hold up. It's just a big flippity floppity thing. All right, so I really want to explain this to you. Okay, so this is a front, half of a front. So you're starting here and you're working actually this way. And there's like increases happening that become the straps, and then there's decreases and increases, and you're working end to end. And now for the sake of just displaying straps, and they've now fallen apart, I clipped the 2 front and back straps that I have done together. So, ooh, hello, washing out, bright yellow. We'll talk about the yarn in a minute, but similar construction. We've got a strap and an armhole and kind of a V-neck thing going, and then a back. And can you see as I'm holding this up that this looks wide? I can't show it to you on a hanger. I can't hold it up. It is very hard, but I assure you that it is in fact wider because I've just completed the armhole decreases. So that is about the width that it would be, which is not about the width of my person. That should be like over, yeah. We again have made a too large tank top. And I've been working on this and I already frogged a beginning portion of it, by the way. Frogged it, started again. I've been working on this for like a week. And I realized just now, as I sat down to podcast, that it's too wide. Because that right there alone is the back panel, which is wider than me. And I don't mind if it has an inch or 2 of positive ease, but right now, this is too much positive ease. I don't think I can hold it up to this one, but maybe we can. Let's see. How many hands do I need to do this job? Like that. That's much wider. And I'm making it in a finer yarn, and I'm making it like, I think 2 hook sizes smaller. We got too many increases and decreases going. It's like, look at that back section. That's, like, the straps aren't even on. Like, I could have held this up. I could have held this up and been like, Bella, those straps are, like, not on your body. So I think I'm gonna have to frog this again. I don't want to do that. I do really want this as a finished object because I am really liking how it looks. It's a lovely, like, muted mustard yellow. It looks beautiful in my dandelion stitch. And again, I want it to exist, and I've had this yarn in stash, which we will talk about in a moment, for quite a bit. So now, unfortunately, if I want to, you kind of have to frog the whole thing because you need the shaping to match on both sides. I can't just like decrease the back because then I'll have one side panel that's larger. So I basically have to start again. And I did this to myself. I could have so easily held it up. I could have so easily measured it. Could have like done bust measurements. But I didn't. And this one I didn't gauge swatch for. I just kind of held it up to that one when I got started and was like, oh yeah, it's the same size. It's good. We're going to do some increases, decreases, keep going. Nope. So I need to frog it back to like here, which is, you know, like 6 rows in. I'm content with the length. The length. I didn't want it to be form-fitting, but I think it needs to be more form-fitting than it is for sure. My other option is to keep going, finish it, and then try and seam it up on my sewing machine. Like add side seams to take it in. But that feels like that's gonna just, I don't think you can like cut off the excess with crochet. I would be really hesitant to do that. And this is not a sticky yarn at all, so it's not gonna even try to hold to itself and felt or anything. So yeah, I think I have to frog it. If anyone has any great solutions, let me know. So I'm just kind of frustrated with making at this point, and it's all my fault. I'm frustrated with myself and everything that I'm making, which is not a fun, inspiring way to be. And I thought this project was going to be my win, and it's not. It's not at all. It's fingering weight yarn with a 3.75 millimeter hook. And it's only a tank top, but again, I have one more strap to do and then I'm done. So 3/4 of the way there, and I think I'm gonna pull it all out again. But my plan was to do very similar front ribbing button band to that one. Similar edge finishes. I don't think I'm gonna put like lace around the bottom. I think that would kind of detract from the star stitch. Probably just a single crochet kind of I-cordy looking thing on the bottom. I would like your opinions though. On buttons, I was thinking, I had seen someone, I think it was Martina of We Grow Wild, at some point making resin buttons. Buttons out of resin epoxy. Are resin and epoxy the same thing? I'm not entirely sure if it's like resin and I know it's something where you mix two very toxic things together and it hardens and becomes a toxic little plasticky thing. Basically. But I thought it would be super cool. I know people do them with like glitter and confetti in them. I thought it would be super cool. That's what I'd seen Martina doing, was putting pressed flowers or like flower petals in these little resin buttons. And you can get the little like button molds on Amazon for like $5 or less. Make all sorts of sizes of buttons in the resin. It seems like I'd have to buy in kind of a large, I don't know. I was browsing on Amazon. And I was asking my husband, Jojo, like, do you know anything about resin? And he was like, oh, not really. So I was watching some YouTube videos and I was thinking I was going to press dandelion flowers from my yard and either just do like the petals. I don't think you could fit a full flower in there because of like the hole placement and whatever. But I thought it would be super cool to put dandelions from my yard in the buttons. And then I actually started looking into resin and it's kind of terrifying. I am a very conscious of what is being put on my body, near my body, in my body, around my children's family's body. Like, we're very crunchy, which some of you have known what that means, some of you haven't, but very conscious of these things. So in my mind, resin was something that I was definitely going to work on outside. I was going to wear a mask and I wasn't going to inhale it. And I thought at that point we'd be good and then we'd have beautiful resin buttons. And yeah, they're not the most, sustainable thing. But I thought I could make some cool flower buttons. And then I started looking into resin, and I am no expert, but it's a little frightening. So I don't think I'm going to be doing that. My camera is threatening to overheat now because recording in the summer is always fun like that. But apparently you need to worry about like it off-gassing, and they were like, don't let it has to cure for like 24 hours or so. Like, don't let it cure in your house, like near your pets, because it's like chemical pneumonia, bronchitis, like all sorts of lung damage and troubles. So wearing respirators and gloves and keeping it away from my family while it's curing so it doesn't, like, no thank you. That's too much. It's not worth it for dandelion buttons. So we're not doing that. scratch the resin. I will probably order some pretty flowery buttons off of Etsy or something. I suppose I could decoupage or something. I don't know how that would hold up to like washing. Dandelions or something, but I think I could paint. I think I'm probably going to just order some off Etsy and we'll leave it at that. The natural dyeing will be where I put my plants into my makes. So resin seems frightening. And I know there's like UV, there's different kinds of resin, but that didn't seem like a good risk-reward balance to me. That's me personally. If you love resin, carry on, do your thing, wear your respirators. But yeah, so I'm not making resin buttons, and apparently I'm not making a tank top either. So, whew, it's been frustrating. Send help, send suggestions, send easy patterns, something. All right, we're gonna let the camera cool down and then we're gonna talk sewing, I guess, because I don't have any knitting to share with you and all of my crochet projects are frustrating me. I want to put everything in timeout, but then I have nothing to work on. So, let's talk about sewing. I got so frustrated and ranty that I forgot to tell you about what yarn I was using for that fun dandelion project. This is another stash bust. It's another I bought on clearance, 75% off at a local yarn store. Barocco Mantra, I think that says, because again, we put the label or the tag over the label. And it is 100% silk. And this is my first time working with a 100% silk yarn. I think I have 5 of these. What are you, 50 gram balls, 100 grams? Made in Italy as well. This is the color 4443, and they're 50 gram balls. And I think I have 5 or 6 of them. 5? I think I have 5. But it's my first time working with a silk yarn. I have definitely worked with like mohair and silk blends, and I think I've even worked like a sock yarn that has some silk in it for durability. But this is my first time with 100% silk, and it's not actually what I would have imagined. It's definitely drapey. If you had handed this to me and asked me what I thought it was, like blindfolded or something, I would have guessed that it's a Pima cotton. It has a look to it similar. I mean, it looks like a plant-based fiber. Silk is actually an animal fiber because it's from moths. But this in particular, and this is the only one I have to go off of. I know a lot of people like the knitting for olive, pure silk and whatnot. Off the top of my head, that's the only 100% silk that I know. But in my mind, silk was going to be slippery. Silk was going to have some sheen to it. I guess I was thinking silk fabric, but even then, I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking like satin, which isn't actually silk. It's a synthetic. So I'm not sure what I thought silk yarn was going to be, but in my mind, it was going to have a bit of sheen to it, and it was going to be slick to the touch. And this feels dry, like a plant fiber. And it's very loosely plied, which I think is just how this is constructed. It's not silk necessarily. But it's a little splitty. And it has a vague fish smell to it. And I had pulled on Instagram, is that all silk yarn? Is it just this silk yarn? I remember my dad buying dress shirts in the 90s that also, I believed, contained silk and had a weird fish smell to them. So is that a thing? Does silk yarn, like you knitting for olive people, does silk yarn smell kind of like fish? I have a super sensitive sense of smell to the point of being obnoxious. And I do not tolerate fragrances and just really scents at all. Like I have a pregnant person sense of smell on like a normal day with a stuffy nose. So being pregnant is like real fun for me and my sense of smell. I'm very sensitive to smells. And this, yeah, and it's all of them. Fishy is the only way I could describe it. And I'm assuming once I wash it with some, I guess wool wash, it's not wool, but once I wash it with something, I feel like it's gonna get better, but it's got a weird, funky kind of smell to it. And it hasn't been unenjoyable to work with, other than the fact that I'm gonna have to work with it twice again because I'm a frogget. It seems. I'm looking, it's over there in a chair in literal timeout. I'm looking at it. Yeah. Silk yarn recommendations? I don't know. I don't know anything about this one, and I know that there's some debate on cruelty-free silk versus includes cruelty silk based on how the silk is harvested from the moths and whatnot. I don't know anything in particular about this Barocco mantra yarn, and I got it for, let's see, like $2.50 a skein. So yeah, it is what it is. I have it, I'm using it, and it's fighting me. All right, now let's talk about the sewing for real. Just kidding, let's not talk about the sewing. I guess we should talk about the yarn acquisitions in case you're only here for the yarn content and not the sewing content. This is real quick. When I was at Joanne getting some elastic and whatnot for sewing projects that we're going to talk about in a minute, I also grabbed, with some coupons, some yarn I hadn't seen before, Patton's Linen. And this is a 65% cotton, 35% linen blend. I do love a plant-based summery fiber, and I do love this is coming up pinker on screen, but it's like a almost terracotta, like a pink terracotta. A rusty, what would we compare this color to? It's really pretty. Does it have a color name? Sweet potato. It doesn't look like a sweet potato at all. Sweet potato, I feel like, looks like that tank top. It's like a dusty, rosy terracotta color. I like it. It's a DK weight. They're 100 grams. I bought 4 of them, and I don't know what I'm going to make. I'm thinking I might go back and get a couple more if they still have them. Might be different dye lots, but you get what you get, Bella, when you make weird choices. Are these even the same dye lot? I didn't even check. Yep, they are. That's good. So yeah, maybe I'm thinking possibly it's by the Crayabea. It's the cardigan with the lacy Holy open stitch. What is it called? Corin. The Corin cardigan. Might make one of those. Don't know if I have enough here to make that. There's definitely a short sleeve version, maybe, that I could pull off with 4 skeins. It's pretty open gauge. That, or Caitlin Hunter just released like a really summery, beachy looking pullover sweater that I think would be really cute in a cotton linen, which is I think what she was using. It may have been a cotton merino, but either way, a plant-based type fiber. Hers is striped, but I think in a solid that might be really nice as well. I don't know, but I would need to get more, I think. Thoughts? Any thoughts? I have 400 grams currently. Could go back and get more. They also had a really beautiful mustard yellow color that was very similar to this, but I talked myself down because I'm trying to get rid of my plant-based yarns. Use them up. Do I need more? I do not. But I bought those because I liked them. And you can't go to the craft store without going to the yarn section, right? So that is truly, truly the end of the yarn content. And we must speak of the sewing now. Bear with me. So sewing. Sewing. As I've said before, I'm not great at sewing. It's something that I've done. I very much like the idea of having sewn things. I like the idea of having a sewn wardrobe. I like the idea of making stuff for my kids. I love, I don't know, maybe the romanticized thought of being someone who can sew. I do not currently enjoy the process of sewing. And it definitely falls into a category for me of things that I want to be good at, that I'm not instantly good at, therefore I hate. That's very much my personality. It's my daughter's personality too. And I'm aware of that. Like if it's something, particularly a creative thing, creative things tend to come pretty naturally to me. If it's not something that comes naturally to me and it frustrates me, I like write it off and I hate it. But I really do want to be good at sewing. And if you've been around, I've sewn a couple things on here before and talked about it here and there. I have a very basic Singer sewing machine. I don't know what model it is, but somebody gave it to me when they moved. So very basic sewing setup, and like I sewed stuff as a kid. Like my mom taught me how to sew. I know how to use a sewing machine. Not super comfortable with it. Never really gotten beyond basics or anything, but like I've made really basic things. But I would like to get past that into like being good at sewing. I would love to make myself dresses and my daughter dresses and be able to like confidently tailor and modify things that maybe I thrift or something. And to really make pieces that fit my body and my style, just like I can do with supposedly, just like I can supposedly do with knitting and crocheting. Not so much right now, but in general, to be able to create a wardrobe or whatever, that's totally my own. So I really like that idea. Not there yet in the execution. And another thing is I don't want like the beginner like that, oh, you made that. Like I want to make awesome dresses that look like you bought them at a fancy boutique somewhere. That maybe like, oh, artisan handmade, but not like, oh, you made that. You know? And I also don't want to put that on my kids. So that's where I'm at with sewing. I want to be good at it. I'm not there yet. Don't really want to do the work to get good at it, but I'm trying. So I thought, low risk. What can we do that is low risk? We can sew some pajamas. Like, nobody has to see us. They don't have to be the best fitting. They don't have to, like, the seams don't have to line up. They can be janky and wonky. There's not a lot of shaping involved. Like, it's pretty straightforward. Make some pajama pants, some pajama shorts. Not a big deal. I have 2 kids. My husband, I do not think my husband can handle homemade pajama pants. He is very, like, sensory. All the seams of everything needs to be, like, in line and in order on, like, his store-bought pants. So if I do something weird with a sewing machine, I don't think he'll sleep ever again. So he's not getting any pajama pants until I get good. But my children and I can be the guinea pigs on the sewing. So I thought I'd start with myself. And I watched a bunch of tutorials, and I will link anything good that I found helpful for this down below. I followed one particular video tutorial on how to like trace out pants that you have and create a pajama short out of existing shorts. And I was like, perfect, I have some that fit me that I like. It's great, awesome, that'll work. And I also downloaded a free pattern from Patterns for Pirates, which is a pattern designer that I really like her work. And I also just like that it's called Patterns for Pirates. I really like pirates. But she has a free, I believe it's called the Walk the Plank pajama bottom short combo pattern. She has it in adult sizes, women's through men's, and also children's sizes like babies through teens or whatever abuts the adult sizing. So it's a free download. And I was like, perfect, I will get that. I did all of our measurements. I got the tape. I wrote down the notes. I did all the things. But one of my least favorite parts about sewing that I just can't get my head around, not that I can't get my head around it, it's just that I don't want to do, is the pattern piecing part. So I downloaded this free pattern, which is awesome, an amazing free resource. And I did use a lot of the measurements and guidelines and like how to actually assemble it. Because I have a hard time following a video unless it has like an accompanying blog post to start and stop the video. It's kind of annoying. So sometimes I'll like write down myself show notes off of a video to follow. But I ended up going with the visual, and she also has a video in the pattern as well on how she makes the pants. So I combined a couple video tutorials and was gonna go print out my Patterns for Pirates Walk the Plank pants. The pattern is 63 pages, which is awesome. Like sewing patterns, I get it. They're tedious. I have no idea how people design sewing patterns and what program you're using. I do not know. It is some engineering. It is amazing. But the printing, and you can print only in your size and whatever, but I figured I had to print for me and then the 2 kids and then cut it all and then tape it all. Like that is a lot of paper and ink. And our printer is not the greatest. So then I was like, forget that. So I kind of looked at the measurements in the pattern, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to trace shorts that I have, follow the tutorial from the Walk the Plank, like step by step in the pattern. She has photos and everything. It's really well laid out, really beginner friendly. It's just a matter of cutting and taping and printing all of the pattern bits that I didn't want to do. So I was following a different video where she traced on either like cardstock or wrapping paper or butcher paper, some kind of a large amount of paper to make your own pattern. So I did that. So I had these shorts and I've had them since like high school. And the elastic is just like you can hear it. It's got dryer crunch. It has 0 stretch. Like that's not the size of my waist. And it's just, there's no give to the elastic whatsoever at all. And that's like the opposite of ASMR, like crusty elastic sounds. So I have these. They're a little more complicated with like a snap in the front. But I was like, okay, I can trace around these. So I got out my wrapping paper, got out my ugly Christmas wrapping paper that, again, someone gave us, I think. So I traced, and I had my fronts and my backs, and I had my seam allowance, and I had rulers, and I never use a ruler and make straight lines. Can you see? So I had the front and the back and the tracing, and I had it all. Thought I had a plan. Didn't execute it well, again. I cut my pieces. We ironed. We used pins. We did the whole thing. And I was like, okay, I'm a sewist. I got this. Some things I did not take into consideration or did not listen to. In the Patterns for Pirates tutorial, which I was following step by step, her pattern is made, it doesn't have a side seam on the kids. I think the adults might. So she's just folding two pieces together. So the front and the back are already attached. So you have a front and a back and a front and a back. And you only need to seam like this bit. Let's pretend that's the inseam on your pants. Nope. So you're seaming here, essentially, in different methods. But the sides didn't have a seam. So I wasn't thinking about side seams. And I was like, okay, my fabric was kind of tricky. I was using this fabric here. And I couldn't really tell if it had a right or a wrong side. It's more of just like a preference kind of thing. This was some scrap fabric. I guess this would be the back. You can see there. I guess that's the back. I guess that's the front. The black is slightly more vibrant, but I was kind of picking and choosing which side I was wanting. It's just some scrap fabric from my mom's. Actually, I think this is from my fabric stash at my mom's house back in like high school. I had no idea what quantity, and it's got like wacky dimensions because I think I had already made something. I don't know. I went through a bag making phase. I can make a pretty good bag. But anyway, I cut out my pieces. I was very concerned about the rights and wrong sides of the fabric because they were so similar. So I was trying to make sure I had the right sides together and all of that. And I cut out my two fronts and I cut out my two backs. And if you know anything about pants construction, I can't really show you, but you look at pants or underwear, whatever, like the back is bigger than the front because usually you got some more junk in your trunk that needs a little more space in the back. So yeah, usually the back piece is a different shape than the front piece. And if you construct it correctly, you should have some happy fitting pants. What I did is I cut out two fronts and two backs. And they were the right dimensions and all of that, more or less. But then I sewed my two backs together and my two fronts together. So I have a butt leg and front leg. When I should have had two fronts, two backs. Front and a back, front and a back. Instead I did back and back, front and front. For my two legs of my pants. And you can't really tell holding them up, but they do not fit. because and like I tried to fake it and I like fixed the seam on the bottom so it looks like it matches up, so I was like, oh, maybe they'll fit anyway. They don't. Because I sewed, like you can tell here, I think, if I hold it up. Let's see. This is, again, very hard to show. No, you can't. Just forget it. Just forget it, Bella. Stop trying. Point is, I have two butts on one leg. Two butt pieces. Two fronts on the other leg. So one leg is less broad. The other is butt size broad. And what should be my front is like my side seam. So they don't fit. And also I didn't take into consideration, like they look like shorts, from a galloping horse. But I couldn't wear them on a galloping horse because they don't fit. I did okay on the seams and whatnot. We got a couple places where I like crunched the fabric over weird. You can't really see because of the crazy print. And again, it was just pajamas, so I wasn't super concerned about it. That's my cat. But what I didn't take into consideration when I was tracing is that these shorts, the existing store-bought shorts, have a split hem at the thigh. Didn't do that here, so the thigh is too tight. As well as being two butts and two fronts. So that is my first attempt at pajama shorts. And I realized that I had done this at the point I was sewing in the elastic. And I had like back stitched and so everything is pretty secure. I did learn a new way to do elastic, which was pretty cool, where you, instead of making like a channel and feeding it through, you sew it with like a zigzag or a serger. I don't have a serger. I want to get good at sewing to justify a serger by my birthday in February. We'll see. But zigzag stitch and pink and shoe. I was doing all the things, all the good things. So I learned this new way to do the elastic, and then by the time I sewed the elastic in, went to hem the bottoms of the pants and realized, oh, this side is much larger than that side because I attached the two butts over here and the two fronts over there, and that should have been, rotated to my butt. So I have dysfunctional pants, and I can get them on. They go on my body, but the thighs are tight around my thigh. And there's just some weird, things happening. It's not, even for pajamas, they're not comfortable. The waist fits, but the rest of the shorts do not. And I sewed them real secure, so I didn't feel like seam ripping them out. Maybe I will at this point, because all I need to do is rotate the pieces and things probably would have been okay, except for the whole side seam. I don't know how to do a split hem in sewing at this point. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll just seam them in somehow. We'll make them smaller and they'll fit my daughter. They don't. They're like this billowing knee length crotch situation. There's no saving these shorts is basically what it comes down to. But there is a comeback story. I made some other pants. Hang tight. I should mention, when I was at Joann, I bought, based on the Patterns for Pirates pattern, I bought enough flannel to make myself winter long flannel pajama pants, but I was like, I'm not touching that. It's 3 yards fabric. I'm not touching that until I can actually get a well-fitting pant for myself, or at least a short, and then make it longer. So I have that. It's a really cool orangey red, it's not up here, it's in the basement. Really cool flannel, so you'll see that when I get good, maybe. And then I have some cat print flannel for my daughter to make her some pants. And then I have all sorts of cotton fabrics we could make summer shorts out of. But I'm working from the stash pile of scraps and stuff that either came from my mom or was mine and was living at my mom's house and I reclaimed it. Bunch of that. So in that pile of scrap from my previous sewing life, there was some flannel. And then I was like, okay, I think I can get, and again, I didn't measure it. I don't know how many yards it was. I'm not doing extra math. And I was like, I think I can get pants for both my kids. My son is going on 2 and my daughter is 5.5. So I was like, I think I can get pants for both my children out of this existing flannel. And it's not the cutest, but it's not the worst. It's just flannel. So this was the fabric we were working with. And this is literally the amount that I have left after making the pants for my children. And my daughter's came out narrower because I cut the pieces wide to make a really flowy leg and then realized I didn't have enough to make the second set of leg. So I narrowed them a little, but they fit. It's good. So again, I was going off of the Patterns for Pirates children's sizing, roughly. But then I was also tracing around, didn't actually do the paper pattern part this time. I just stuck some pants down on the fabric and cut around them with some seam allowance situation. Real roughing it. Just, we're wild and free here. So I did that with my sons first. So I took some pajama pants that I knew fit him currently. But again, I wanted them to fit in the fall, so I made them a little longer, a little wider, a little bigger in the waist, just bigger. And I figured if they're huge, whatever, they're pajama pants on a 2-year-old, who really cares? These ain't fashion, but they're pants. And he got stuff stuck to them. What in the world did he stick on there? Okay. So I made pants. They're actual pants. They're super wide leg. They're super just this cozy little derpy fit. But I made them and they fit and they're pants. So for his, I did the same. They're super wide, so there's plenty of room for his butt. But they're same front and back because when I folded his pajama pants both ways on the fabric, they were the same front and back. So I was like, okay, we can get away with that on him. This is not going to be a tailored piece at all. And as long as we have enough room to fit like a diapered butt, we're good. So they're just really wide, really big. And I made them long enough that I can cuff them. They're not cute. I put even a little tag in the back so we could tell what the front and the back was, but I just picked a back on this based on which was uglier. But none of my flannelly seams line up. Because I don't even know how I would go about that. That is a different type of art. And these ones don't have a side seam, so it was just a piece folded in half, and then, like I said, the inseam and the crotch, and then stick some elastic in, and then cuff the bottoms. So all in all, not a ton of sewing, just kind of some thinking on my part. This should be an easy pattern for someone that knows what they're talking about, but I don't. But they do fit him, and I will pop in some pictures at some point in here of both my kids with their faces covered in whatever, because we don't do kids on the internet. But I also made my daughter a pair. Like I said, they are narrower, which actually works out to her benefit because she does not like when pajama pants ride up. If they're too wide, she doesn't like them to like come up to her knees and be, because she's her father's daughter, does not like them to be bunchy and lumpy. She usually likes like a stretchy legging type pajama pant that stays down where it's supposed to be. So I was iffy on the flannel pants to begin with her. So I'm glad they actually came out narrower. But hers are roughly based on the 7-year-old size in the pattern. I made them extra long so she can cuff them like once or twice at this point. And again, nothing is perfect about these. And I made them all while they were sleeping, so I couldn't try them on. So her waist was actually smaller, so I ended up taking in the waist just a wee little bit, and then I left it so I could seam rip it out later if I wanted to put the waist back out again. But again, I have the little taggy situation in the back, just a little piece of ribbon that I sewed in the back. And hers, I did make different fronts and back pieces, and I did also do side seams, just based on how I was cutting the fabric, because I was really, really squeezing it in there at that point. But yeah, they're pants and they fit, and I mean, they look like pajamas. And will they hold up forever? Probably not, but my kids grow fast anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm super, super pleased with those. And my daughter just kept saying, I think love languages is definitely one of her love languages is one of her love languages. Gifts, I think, are one of her love languages. And she was just like, I so appreciate you making these for me. Like, I really appreciate that you made me these pants. I love these. Like, they were wearing them today around the house because I wanted to try them on, and they just both kept them on and ran around in their pajamas for the afternoon. And it was really cute, and they match, and yeah. I like them. So I would like to get good at making and buy some like nice flannel and make, it'd be awesome to do like Christmas pajamas for everybody, but we'll see. That might be overachieving. But at least for the kids, super cute. And then as I was cleaning up my scraps, I had little tiny weird long bits left from like taper, like doing the legs and whatever. And I don't have them with me because they're upstairs sleeping with the babies. But I was like, I could make cat toys or something. Like, I try to be as zero waste as possible. But I was going to make little cat toy squares and stuff them with catnip and fluff, because we have plenty of that dried catnip from our garden. But then as I was making the little like pillows to sew shut, I was like, oh, bow ties. So I made a bow tie for each of their preferred sleeping buddies. We have Blue Owl and we have Pig Pig. And yeah, I made bow ties for Blue Owl and Pig Pig so they have matching pajamas, because I was not about to be making any clothing for Blue Owl and Pig Pig. But bow ties seemed reasonable, so I did a little elasticated necks with little super kind of janky bow ties. And then I also made my daughter a scrunchie. Not that she needs to sleep in a scrunchie, but I had a little piece left and I was like, what can we do with this? So we took pictures and whatever. Like, they're cute. So I'm proud that I made those. Do I love the finished project? Not really, but it's just pajamas. And I think the black fabric is pretty forgiving, other than like the flannel part, like the patterning not lining up, but I think it's all right. I need to give myself some grace. Like, you were learning how to do this, Bella. You do not know how to do this, and stuff is not going to look store-bought right away. I'm at a very confident place with knitting and crocheting where I can make something that people are like, you made that? If sewing, it's like, oh yeah, Bella made that. She made that for sure. But like I said, it's pajamas. It's fine. But I have bought some fabric for some dresses that I want to make. And I bought like some of this I've watched a lot of tutorials on shirring. But this pre-shirred stretchy fabric to make a dress for my daughter and I. So yeah, I also want to make aprons. My son needs an apron. My daughter has a crochet apron. I want to sew my son an apron. I'm going to make me some aprons, make matching aprons. I got projects galore. So maybe I get good at sewing this year. I don't know. I have a lot of inspiration, not a lot of time to execute it. And again, I can only really work on it at nighttime. So I'm not my best at nighttime. I'm definitely a morning person. So we do what we can. We'll see. Maybe there'll be more sewing content. Maybe I'll learn how to do stuff. I don't know, but I like learning old skills. I like modeling that for my kids. And I like, particularly for my daughter whose personality is very similar to mine, we've been talking a lot about like, yeah, sewing is hard for me. Like, this isn't something that's easy. Like, I think crocheting is pretty easy for me at this point, but sewing is hard and I have to keep trying and it's not perfect. And like a lot of good discussions coming out of that because she too gets very frustrated if she's not instantly great at everything. So we're working on that. We're both working on it together. And like I said, she really loves handmade things, and I don't know if my son knows the difference between handmade pajamas versus store-bought pajamas at this point, but he's cute in them. So yeah, it's been a fun adventure the last week working on those. And yeah, there's probably going to be a fair bit more of pajama pant content before we get good, but thanks for being here for it. If anybody has any great tutorials or ideas or projects or channels, really anything in the sewing realm, I'd love to hear about that. Particularly if they're like made to measure or make your own patterns on wrapping paper, like that kind of thing. I really like. That's kind of how I want to go about things. It's where I started with crocheting too, where I kind of just made stuff work and wasn't really following patterns. Not that I don't want to be able to follow patterns, it's just a whole different level of difficult for me right now. So being able to wing it on my own seems the best option. But I promise this will remain mostly a yarn fiber arts podcast. Thank you for hanging out and chatting all of my frustrations with me. I have had several, as you can see. Hopefully, I mean, going into fall, winter is always like when all the yarn inspiration hits, but I do really like having a summer handmade wardrobe. So I don't know what's going on right now. I don't know what my like vacation projects are gonna be like. I cannot wrap my mind around any patterns at this time. So maybe I just need to go knit some vanilla socks or something, but it's summer. I don't want to knit socks. I don't know. Send help, send suggestions. And yeah, just keep looking at my project pile over here, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with it all. Thanks for being here for it. I know my uploads are inconsistent and my content's kind of wacky. I don't know. But I appreciate you guys who are here. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, do the things that YouTube loves. It does help me out and I appreciate it. And plus I like chatting with you guys. So leave me a comment and send me some ideas, some thoughts, some commiseration, something. Thank you so much. I will talk to you when I talk to you in episode 74. We'll see you next time.